Chapter 2, Inside Our Earth. The Earth, our homeland, is a dynamic planet. It is constantly undergoing changes inside and outside. Have you ever wondered what lies in the interior of the Earth and what is the Earth made up of? Let's study today. Interior of the Earth. This is a diagram of the interior of the Earth and we will study it along the diagram. Okay? So just like an onion, the earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside another. I hope everyone has seen onion. There are so many layers, right? Similarly, the earth also has many layers. The uppermost layer over the earth's surface is called the crust. You can see the crust here in the diagram. It is the thinnest of all the layers. It is about 35 kilometers on the continental masses and only 5 kilometers on the ocean floors. Now the main mineral constituents of both the continental mass and the ocean floors are the main mineral constituents of the continental mass are silica and alumina. So we can say that continental masses are made up of silica and alumina and it is thus called Cl, where Si stands for silica and Al stands for alumina. And our oceanic crust is mainly consists of silica and magnesium. So it is called SEMA, where Si means silica and Ma means magnesium. Now the second layer, the mantle. Now just beneath the crust is the mantle which extends up to a depth of, just beneath the crust is the mantle which extends up to a depth of 2900 kilometers below the crust. And the innermost layer, you can see here the innermost layer, inner core, right? You can see here clearly the red one. So the innermost layer is the core with a radius of about 3500 kilometers. It is mainly made up of nickel and iron and is called knife, where Ni stands for nickel and Fe stands for ferrous, that is iron. The central core has very high temperature and pressure. Now let's study do you know. The crust forms only 1% of the volume of the earth. 84% consists of the mantle and 15% makes the core. And the total radius of our earth is 6,371 kilometers. Is it clear? Now rocks and minerals. Now the earth crust is made up of various types of rocks. You might have seen rocks of various sizes, big, small, right? Now what is a rock? Let's study the definition of rock first. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is called a rock. Let's repeat. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is called a rock. The rocks can be of different color, shape, size and texture. There are three major types of rocks: igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. Now, let's study their formation. Number 1, igneous rocks. When the molten magma cools, now there is a lot of molten magma inside the earth because there is high heat and pressure. We have already studied in the core. So when the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. They are also called primary rocks. Let's repeat it again. When molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. They are also called primary rocks. Now, there are two types of igneous rocks: intrusive rock and extrusive rock. So, can you imagine lava coming out from the volcanoes? Lava is actually fiery red molten magma coming out from the interior of the earth on its surface. It is too hot, so it is red in color. When this molten magma comes on the earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. As it comes in contact with the air, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. Now, rocks thus formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rocks. Fine. And these rocks, they have a very fine grained structure. The example of extrusive igneous rock is basalt. And the Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks. So you have to learn this. Now, it's time for intrusive igneous rocks. Now, sometimes this molten magma cools down deep inside the Earth's crust only. Solid rocks so formed are called intrusive igneous rocks. Now, see, kids, to learn it more easily, extrusive means outside, right? And intrusive means inside. So, this is the best way to learn. Intrusive igneous rocks, here the molten magma cools outside on the crust. And intrusive igneous rocks, the molten magma cools inside the earth. So, intrusive, right? Now, let's continue. Since they cool down slowly, they form large grains. Now, because it is deep inside the earth, so there is high heated pressure. So, this molten magma cools slowly. Since it cools slowly, so they form large grains. Now, granite is an example of such a rock. And grinding stones used to prepare paste and powder of spices and grains are made up of granite. You might have seen your mothers making chutney. So that is the on a big piece of stone, right? That is the granite stone. See here you can also we can see the word origin. Now let's study the word origin. Igneous. Igneous. Now Latin word ignis means fire. Now let's study about the sedimentary rocks. Rocks roll down, crack and hit each other and are broken down into small fragments. These small particles are called sediments. Fine. So first sediments form and then these sediments are joined together, compressed and they form sedimentary rocks. Let's repeat the definition of sediments once again. Rocks roll down, crack and hit each other and are broken down into small fragments. These smaller particles are called sediments. These sediments are transported and deposited by wind, water, etc. These loose sediments are compressed and hardened to form layers of rocks. These types of rocks are called sedimentary rocks. For example, sandstone. Sandstone is made from grains of sand. These rocks may also contain fossils of plants, animals and other microorganisms that once lived on them. Now, what are fossils? Fossils are the remains of the dead plants and animals trapped in these layers of rocks. Fine? So, in sedimentary rocks, you will find fossils of plants and animals also and other microorganisms as well. So, you can get a question in your exam in which kind of rock you can find fossils of dead plants and animals. So, the answer will be sedimentary rocks. And the example of sedimentary rocks is sandstone. Now again this purple box, word origin sedimentary. Latin word sedimenter meaning settle down. Right? So when the rocks settle down at one place, they compress and then they form sedimentary rocks. Now let's proceed. Igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under great heat and pressure. Now we have already studied about igneous and sedimentary rocks. Now the third kind of rock, metamorphic, is made from igneous and sedimentary rocks. So these igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under great heat and pressure. For example, clay changes into slate and limestone into marble. So you have to learn this, that clay changes into slate and limestone into marble. Now the uses of rocks. Rocks are very useful to us. The hard rocks are used for making roads, houses and buildings. You use stones in many games, for example, 7 stones, Pitu, hopscotch, tapu, 5 stones, gitti. And there are other uses of stones as well. See, the Red Fort is made up of red sandstone and the Taj Mahal is made up of white marble. So again you can get these questions in your exams like Red Fort is made up of what? So Red Fort is made up of red sandstone, or which monument is made of red sandstone, or write an example of red sandstone. So the answer will be the Red Fort. And which monument is made from white marble? So Taj Mahal, right? Now let's study a very important concept, the rock cycle. First let's come back to the last page we have studied, and let's study about the word origin of metamorphic. Greek word metamorphos, meaning change of form. So complete change of form occurs in the metamorphic rocks, like a clay changes into a slate. and then limestone into marble. Now rock cycle. You will be surprised to know that one type of rock changes to another type of rock under certain conditions in a cyclic manner. Now, under certain conditions only the rock can change. This process of transformation of the rock from one to another is known as the rock cycle. You have already learned when the molten magma cools, right? When the molten magma cools, it solidifies to become igneous rocks. Now, these igneous rocks are broken down into small particles, sediments, remember? So, these igneous rocks are broken down into smaller particles that are transported and deposited to form sedimentary rocks. Now, when the igneous and sedimentary rocks are subject to heat and pressure, they change into metamorphic rocks. The metamorphic rocks, which are still under great heat and pressure, melt down to form molten magma. This molten magma again can cool down and solidify into an igneous rock, and then from the igneous rocks are then again broken down into smaller particles, and then they will form sedimentary rock. So igneous and sedimentary rocks, when subjected to high and pressure, will become metamorphic rocks. So this cycle goes on and on, but this is a step-by-step procedure. First, molten magma will cool down, then the igneous rock will form. From the igneous rock, the sediments will form. It will break down into smaller particles called sediments. From the sediments, when these sediments will get compressed, they will form sedimentary rock, right? And then, like igneous and sedimentary rocks are subjected to high heat and pressure, metamorphic rock will form. And then again, this molten magma will again cool down and solidify and become a igneous rock. So this cycle goes on and on, but this is a definite cycle. First, number one, you can see figure 2.4 rock cycle. First step is molten magma cooling, coming out and then cooling. Then igneous rock being formed. Then sediments, smaller particles, the rock converts into smaller particles, breakdowns into smaller particles. Number three is number 4, sedimentary rock. Now igneous and sedimentary rock, number 2 and number 4 will subject to height and pressure and form number 5, metamorphic rock, and then again the molten magma, right? So this goes on and on in a cyclic manner. This is a definite cycle, kids, remember. Now rocks are made up of different minerals. What are minerals? Minerals are naturally occurring substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. So this is the definition, that minerals are naturally occurring substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. You can't change its chemical composition. Minerals are very important to humankind. Some are used as fuels: copper, aluminium, iron, gold, silver. All these are minerals. For example, coal, natural gas and petroleum. These are fuels. Then the minerals used in industries are iron, aluminium, gold, uranium, etc. and in medicine and fertilizers as well. So minerals are very important to humankind. Here we come to the end of this chapter. Exercise I will share in the next video. Thank you.